I was definitely the person who was awake at 3 a.m. in the morning, finishing a series. I was also the person who was going to sleep at 7 a.m. because I've just finished a series. But I have never felt more lost. I have never felt more disappointed. And I have never felt more useless than in these times. This is why I'm sharing this story, because I truly believe that you are this person. You are this person who is spending over 12 hours in movies and series, and it's not because you're lazy. So welcome to the Fiti podcast. My name is Grace Delight, and I am currently on my health and fitness journey, also wellness journey. And I've decided to share this journey with you, share my wins, share my losses. And this is one of the biggest wins that has happened for me. I cannot even begin to explain to you how much my life has changed after I decided to quit movies and series. Now, this video is not for everyone. If you're the kind of person who you're able to watch one episode of a series and, go 3 weeks without watching, a series or a movie, then you're great. Okay. This is for the person who cannot stop binging, because this issue seems like a normal. We make fun of binging, we make fun of watching movies, but for some people, this is a cycle that they're stuck in. It's an actual addiction that is ruining their lives, and it's not seen as alcohol, but I have experienced the difference between being addicted to movies and series and actually being free. In this video, I'm going to share how binge watching almost ruined my life, what I did to break free, and a simple step that you can start doing today to begin this process of being free from movies and series. Now, just like any other normal human being, I used to love watching series, and when it began, it was not really a big issue. I remember it was around 13, 14 years, and we were going with my friends to buy movies and buy series from the movie shop guy. And at that time, it was okay. Looking back, I can still see signs that this could be a thing and this could be a problem in the future, but it wasn't as big as it became later. This means that I wasn't spending during 13 to 14 hours on end watching movies and series. I had other things in my life. I was a cute little girl just trying to understand this life thing and trying to be cool and trying to get people to like me and trying to pass KCP. Girl had no time, okay? And she had a lot of things happening in her life. And maybe you can relate. But fast forward to when I got into uni, this is where it felt like a button was pressed and it became a problem. It became a serious problem. Again, when it starts, you don't really think about it. You watch series continuously for 8 hours in a day. And you're like, I was just relaxing. It was a long week. I had many assignments, no biggie. But for me, the real turning point where I was like, this may be a problem, is number one, just to give you a bit of a snapshot of how bad this thing was. I finished Money Heist, season 1 and 2 in 2 days. Okay. And that's not the only one I was watching. If you were big on anime, okay, you know a series called Boys Over Flowers. That series, I didn't stop until I finished. And it's a very long series. And for those type of anime movies, one season is like 23 episodes. And I think I got to like season 3 before my head felt like it was going to explode. Anyway, that is kind of a picture of how bad it was. I could finish 3 movies in a day. I could finish 2 seasons in a day. Literally, if I sat down, I think I can be able to tell you 50 series off the top of my head that I've watched. I've watched almost all true crime, not really true crime, but crime series. I have watched a lot of fiction, a lot of sci-fi. I really used to be a fan of like this end of the world kind of series. And so at that time, it was just enjoyment, right? Then fast forward, we were watching a series with my friend, and I just noticed small things that I was like, this thing does not affect her the way it affects me. So we're watching a movie, then she's like, it's time to go to class. Not even a movie, it's an episode of a series. And the episode has just started. And she's like, okay, we feel like 20 minutes in. She's like, yeah, it's time to go to class. She pauses the movie and she starts to prepare to go to class. And for me, I'm like, I can't not be glued to the screen. So of course, that means at certain points in my uni career, in my university life, I was definitely missing classes because I was watching movies. And I know and I know still at this point, it doesn't really seem like a big issue, especially if this is something you're doing daily. If you're watching movies and series daily and constantly, over 4 hours, 4 to 6 hours every single day, listen, it's a problem. And one of the biggest things that I realized was keeping me in this cycle of watching movies and series was escaping. I was literally trying to escape the reality of my life. Now, I should say, my life was not particularly hard, but there were certain things that would come up, just like in anyone else's life, that would be difficult and painful and challenging. And they were just a normal part of being alive and being human. But I didn't want to process it. I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to handle it because it was too painful. So anytime something happened, the easiest way to escape reality was through movies and series, to the point where something that was supposed to be something that was supposed to be enjoyment became a form of escape. So then the real journey of trying to cut this thing off from my life began. Okay, I tried everything. I tried going cold turkey. I could stop for, and if you don't know what cold turkey is, it's just cutting something off from your life suddenly and just handling the symptoms the way you would, and like just taking in the symptoms until finally this thing is not really a part of your life. And for me, it didn't work. I'm not entirely sure why it didn't work, because I know for some people it actually works, where you cut something off for a period of time and that thing inakutoka, right? But for me, it just didn't work. I could stop maybe for 3 days, fourth day, it was worse, okay? I was... It was terrible. Like 12 hours in a day, I'm just inside, watching every single movie that I could. I also tried like maybe a kind of soft, like cutting it off slowly. It didn't work. And by cutting it off slowly, I mean where you decide, okay, I'm only going to be watching one episode per day. Didn't work. Watch the entire season every single time. So by this time, I'm starting to see the real consequences of this thing. I'm starting to see that, number one, I literally don't have time for anything else. I don't have time for my dreams. I don't have time for my goals. I don't have time for making money because I'm just behind the screen. Number two, I'm also starting to see the effect it has on my relationships, because now I've become such a home person that I don't want to go out. I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm just like doing the bare minimum when it comes to relationships, so that I can go back, finish the series, and the day begins again. And this is my 3 biggest regrets when it comes to movies and series. Number one, it didn't allow me to process what I was going through. It did not allow me to process life. And the problem with that is, what you can't process, you can't heal. Okay? Something that has happened to you that you haven't processed, that you haven't dealt with or even confronted, right? You're not going to be able to heal from it. So there were things that were happening on a daily basis that I wasn't processing, I wasn't confronting. And then I would get into this cycle of depression, and I wouldn't understand why I was so sad. I wouldn't understand why I wanted to sleep and not wake up. I wouldn't understand why I felt so defeated, why I felt so stuck, why I felt like my life was not worth living, okay? And this is, again, it just begins a cycle of a very deep, dark hole. And I know you understand what I'm talking about. If you are somebody who's watching series endlessly, I know you relate with it, because it's something that can really, really feel like a dark cloud is hanging over your head. Anyway, that was number one. I wasn't processing. Number two, it was sedating me from my dreams. And what I mean by that is, I felt like I was asleep. I felt like I wasn't dreaming anymore. I wasn't experimenting anymore. I had literally nothing to live for. I had no goals. I had nothing I was working towards. I had an idea of what I wanted in life. I just had an idea. But I felt like I was so heavy that I didn't have the strength to pull myself out of this thing and actually go after what I wanted. So I had an idea, I had a feeling of where I wanted to go, but at the same time, I just felt very defeated. The third thing that looking back now, and this one particularly is looking back, it gave me a false sense of comfort, a false sense of high, a false sense of you're going to be okay. And I'm saying a false sense because once this feeling faded off, I'm telling you, I felt like my life was over. I just mainly it was a feeling of I wanted to sleep and sleep and sleep and sleep. Yeah. I'm looking for different words and different ways to explain how just sad it was. Your life lived is much better than a series in a movie. And I know there's usually this confusion of it's like, it feels like you're living your life through the characters of those people. But I'd like to tell you that your life, your goals, your dreams, your relationships are way better than what any series could do. Like than any series you could watch. Okay. And you may look at it and you may think, no, I'm not an FBI agent. I'm not, having the time of my life in uni, doing what, attending parties. I'm just a normal person. But I promise you, there is so much life to be lived. You have goals, you have dreams, you have plans, you have things that you probably wanted to do, but now they feel dead. Those things, they're still there. They never went anywhere, right? It's the example of the value of a thousand bob note. The 1,000 bob note, it can be stepped on, it can be crunched, but it still has the value as a brand new 1,000 initially note, right? And it's the same thing for your dreams. This is what I did. When the turning point happened where I realized this thing is affecting me differently than it's affecting other people, then I just began fighting and resisting. I wasn't very good at it. I wasn't very good at stopping, but it became a part of my life. I was like, okay, I really need to stop this thing. And when I started to see real change was when I reached out to people who I trusted, and I was like, yo, this thing is a problem. And I know it doesn't seem like a problem because everyone is doing it, but for me, it's a problem. I'm watching it too much. I'm spending too much time, and I feel like it's making me depressed. It's making me sad. I'm not happy. And some days I didn't even have the words to explain it, but I was just like, yo, I really need to stop watching series. I'm not okay. It's not helping me, right? So that would be my first advice. Start talking to people you trust and telling them, yo, I think I'm watching this thing too much. And this is how it's affecting me. I feel very defeated. I feel very sad. I feel like I don't want to get out of bed. I feel like I want to sleep and just continue sleeping and continue sleeping. And I need to shake myself off of it because I believe that there are good things waiting for me ahead. So that was number one. Number two, before I even stopped, I kind of stopped also pressuring myself to stop. And I was like, I need to feel like I have some form of control of my life. I need to feel, because this thing, I didn't have control with this thing. And I could in some ways. I could in the sense that maybe when there were harsh deadlines and I was almost about to lose everything, I'd pick myself up and I'd do it. But on a daily basis, I just couldn't stop. I would wake up and the first thing I'd reach for was either the phone or the laptop to finish a series. So that's number one, take back control. And for me, what really helped me was I looked at myself and I was like, the only other thing I have total control over is my body. And this is where health and fitness came in. I started slowly. I used an app for 30-day. I think it's something like belly fat or something fancy like that. And I started to feel like I was getting my power back. I was getting my will back. I was getting my choice back. And it started that journey. And I'd like to encourage you to do the same. If this is you and you're currently binging on movies and series, sometimes it's even YouTube channels, because I know it gets to a point where even the movies and the series you're watching, they're just not interesting because you've watched them so much that now you can even begin to predict the storyline. storyline. You know how it will end. You know who's the bad guy. It's starting to become annoying. So you kind of move to YouTube and you watch all the funny shows. You watch everyone's vlogs. You watch everything, and then you find yourself back in the same hole where this high and this desire you have, it's not being fulfilled by anything. I can tell you from 2 years, I haven't watched a movie or a series in 2 years. And the amount of money I've been able to make, the amount of time I've been able to make, the difference in my relationships, in my friendships, the difference in my mental health. And it's crazy. And like I said, this is not for everyone. These are for the people who are serial binge watchers. You literally cannot live this life without it. I've been able to achieve my goals within months. Things that will take, I was never even able to achieve in 10 years. I was able to do it within months. So when I tell you that this thing is holding you back and it's keeping you stuck and it's keeping you defeated and it has you thinking that you're less than the person you actually are, it is. And I know it because I've lived it. I've experienced it. Also in your social game, when you're spending over 12 hours by yourself in a room just watching a series, you are going to be very awkward in public, okay? You're going to start meeting people and you're going to say things like, I'm just socially awkward. I just have social anxiety. No, it's because you're not spending enough time with human beings, so you don't know how to express yourself with human beings. And the last point I'll share is self-awareness. You're spending so much time watching things that are fictional, sometimes real, sometimes even beneficial, because there are good movies, there are movies that can inspire you to take action, but you're not really spending time with yourself. You're not spending time to understand your dreams, to understand your personality, to understand what gives you joy, what makes you angry, what shifts your mood from one feeling to another. And these are very important things when it comes to achievement, when it comes to living in purpose, living in joy, living in peace, living in a certain level of fulfillment. If you are this person, and I know we are many, I definitely know we are many, because when I was in uni, I wasn't the only one with very loud movies, just drowning my life in a series. So I know we are many, but number two, I know what it feels to be in that state. I know that sometimes it's very exciting, it's very fun, but I know also when the series or the movie ends, I know how dark it can get. And I know that there are many days you haven't wanted to wake up. And I know that there are many days you've struggled to get out of bed. And I know that there are many days you were scrolling on social media, looking at other people living their lives, and you felt like such a failure because all you were doing is waking up and watching series. And I know it because I've been there. And I cannot even begin to tell you how my life has changed after I quit. It is worth it. It is worth it. And I think what I want you to get out of this video is, number one, if you don't think you have this problem, check the number of hours you watch movies and series in a day. If it's more, it's more than 5 every single day continuously, or every other 2 days. And if during your holidays you are just spending hours on end every single day, 8 to 12 hours, sometimes even 6 hours, watching series, my friend, I'm talking to you, okay? There is life to be lived. There's a lot of life to be lived outside of your room, behind a laptop, watching a fictional series. Number 3, I'd like to tell you, what I'd like you to know is it is possible. It is possible to be happy. It is possible to be fulfilled. And it is possible to have a life bigger and better than that series you're watching. Nothing can be compared to having your own experiences and to be the main character of your own life.